as I have the pleasure of introducing to you Mr. Frederik Pferdt. Frederik has just joined us online. Those of you who have the good view, you can see him smiling in one of the screens. Frederik is the Chief Innovation Evangelist at Google and an adjunct professor at Stanford University. Frederik has led global innovation teams which catalyze creativity, thinking, and trains people on how to build better future through technology. It is my absolute pleasure, no pressure, it is my absolute pleasure to welcome Frederik to this session. Frederik, hello.
Thank you so much, Leila. I'm truly honored and humbled that I'm able to join you here from the Santa Cruz Mountain, from my geodesic dome. Such passionate and talented innovators whose mission is really to reimagine the UN together. So first, congratulations for engaging in that super exciting challenge.
Questions we'd like to ask. I mean, I want to know what does a Google innovation and evangelist have for breakfast, but we'll get to more serious questions right now. All right, so the first question is, can you please tell us what it means to be Chief Innovation Evangelist at Google, and what do you find to be the most thrilling part of your job?
Yes, I'm now basically in that most thrilling part of my job, being able to, join you here at 6:30 a.m. Standard Time, and, hopefully inspire you a little bit around how to make all of those ideas you just shared a reality. And so my mission really is to develop the capacity to innovate in everyone. As an evangelist, and you mentioned that, I'm spreading the good news. And the good news is everyone is creative. Everyone hopes for a better tomorrow. And I help people imagine a desirable future and give them the mindsets to really start experimenting towards that future today. So, every part of my job is thrilling and exciting because every day is different. But, definitely, this is a highlight for me this morning to join you here from Santa Cruz Mountains from my geodesic dome.
I'm moving on. Oops, sorry, I was on mute. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that, Frederik. I was just saying that days like this, I am super excited about what I do and for opportunities like this. Now, moving on to your work. You have recently helped to reimagine working at Google, and you help many people and organizations reimagine a better future. What learnings do you have on how to reimagine?
Yes, exactly. I'm just coming out of a couple of months of reimagine working at Google. So what work means in the future for us. And this was truly inspiring. And I think we have some exciting, things to share hopefully pretty soon. But what I learned is that really it comes down to the question you ask, right? So questions that start with what if, right? That really help you imagine what's possible in the future. And so our teams really put out very inspiring future-looking what-if questions around the future of work. And so what I'm excited about is to give you also the ability to, ask those questions and just try to imagine what's possible in the future. And so maybe today, tomorrow, or in the next weeks, just try to frame some of those what-if questions, right? Because they really help you to paint a clear picture of your vision of the future as well.
Thank you very much, Jonathan. I've just put in the chat, what ifs? Let's see what some of the people come up with. What if we get 1,000 questions right now? Moving on, whilst we get the questions coming in, I will move on to another question we have here regarding our current situation. As you know, many of us are working from home. Do you think teams can still be innovative and effective? And in essence, what would you say are the ingredients for a highly innovative team?
Yes, that's a great question, Leila, and I get this question a lot because we all want to work in those highly innovative teams that produce great results, that really experiment and try new things. So I think it's really a great question you ask. For me, it really comes down to one ingredient, and that is psychological safety. We've done some extensive research at Google over the past years where we looked at many teams, over 280 teams, and researched like, what is the difference between an innovative teams, those teams we all love to be part of, and teams that are not so innovative, right? Where we feel like, it's not really coming along, it's not kind of like moving forward and so forth. And we found that it's really just one ingredient, and that is called psychological safety. That trust you feel in the team that enables you to do something different, that enables you to take a risk. And so, again, my kind of like encouragement might be here today that when you start engaging in your ideas, in your, the pitches you just shared, and start to make them a reality, try to really focus on the team as well. How can you enable trust in the team? How can you build that psychological safety? And it really comes down to some of the rituals you can introduce in your team meetings, right? When you start your team meetings, just ask like how everyone is doing, how they're really doing, right? Ask them like, what did you learn this week, right? What have you tried? What have you, learned in terms of like what didn't go that well? And just try to invest in that trust and psychological safety, because that really helps you to build those very innovative teams.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Frederik. I am so glad you spoke about psychological safety and trust. In the UN, building trust is actually one of our managerial competencies. And sometimes I think we take it for granted. So hearing it coming from someone from Google telling us the importance of building trust and creating psychological safety just sends the message home once again. So for all of our managers and innovators out there, please do not underestimate the importance of building trust and creating psychological safety to breed the next generation of innovators. Thank you. Thank you very much, Frederik. Moving on to our next question, okay? Now, there is a concept you have of reframing. If you could kindly give us a little bit of your personal insight on how we can use it and how everyone can train themselves in the ability to reframe.
Fantastic. Before we jump into that question, I just want to recognize the chat here as well, and the effort people are putting into their what if questions. And so, I just captured one what if question that was shared here in the chat. What if the UN truly worked as a system, right? I think that's a beautiful what if questions. And so I just encourage you to, keep asking those what if questions, because they really inspire me, right? Questions that, for example, start with, what if we, can produce zero waste, right? That is a question that really helps us to probably live a more sustainable life. What if we all work from anywhere, right, in the future? And what if we can actually work from anywhere, right? That is a truly inspiring question that, we are trying to ask ourselves here at Google as well, to really enable everyone to work from anywhere. A question that is asked currently by our self-driving car team called Waymo. What if we could build the world's most experienced driver, right? That is a truly inspiring question, I feel, right? If you can put the technology in your cars that it actually allows you to drive itself. So just keep asking those questions, because, I feel they're truly inspiring. You asked a good question on reframing. And so, when we look at our current environment, right, where we see lots of problems happening, right, we see problems related to racial injustice, we see problems related to climate change, we see problems related to, for example, wildfires here in California, and we as a family just had to evacuate our home as well. We see, problems related to the environment. We see problems related to education, right? We see all of those problems happening in the world. And so you can, go about those problems with, fear and being anxious about those problems, right? That usually allows you not to have creative ideas around how to solve those problems, because if you're operating in a mode of fear, right, you really kind of like feel locked down, right? You don't feel kind of like innovative and creative. So reframing is actually a method that allows you to turn problems into possibilities, turning problems into future opportunities. This is something truly exciting to do. Because let me tell you another thing, that is that our brain is actually wired in a way that we usually not think optimistically, right? We usually think very critically. We think, for example, when we hear all of those pitches today, we think about, you know, the mistakes, the flaws, what might not work about this idea. And we share that, you know, with people. But we can rewire our brains to actually look more optimistically towards problems. And so I just want to do one exercise with you, and just if you want to bear with me for just a minute, just going to invite you to just close your eyes for a minute. So just, you know, sit back and relax, maybe pause for a moment with your what if questions, and just close your eyes and listen to what I'm saying. 3 + 2 = 5. 3 + 4 = 7. 2 + 2 = 5. 5 + 5 = 10. Now you can open your eyes again. And Layla, let me know what happened.
I kind of feel guilty, but am I supposed to point out that 2 + 2 is not 5?
Exactly. You're correct. There was a mistake. And that's what, you know, everyone tells me when I do this exercise with them, right? They always spot the mistake first. And this is how our brain works. We immediately go for the mistake, right? We don't recognize that there were actually 3 equations correct, which is 75% of those, you know, 4 equations were actually, you know, correct. And we could start like, oh, great, you know, you had 3 out of 4 correct. That's great. We immediately spot the mistake, and it just bothers us, right? So when we listen to new ideas and, you know, new innovations and new products and new services, we immediately go to like, what could go wrong? What is actually kind of like the mistake here, right? And that is a negativity bias that is wired in our brains based on our evolution, because we had to think critically to actually survive. But I believe we have to think more optimistically to move forward and overcome that negativity bias to really see the opportunities in all of those ideas you shared today as well. And so reframing basically helps you to do that. And so another exercise I want to share is, if you want to take a piece of paper, if you have that available, and just fold that piece of paper half so that you have 2 equal sides. And now you can actually list all of your problems on the left side of your paper, right? Problems like, for example, our children are not able to go to school. The schools are closed for our children, right? That might be a problem. Another problem might be climate change is real and impacts our daily lives. Another problem you could probably write down on that left-hand side of your paper is that I can't physically meet with my team, and that bothers me, right? So you can go on and go on and go on and list all of those problems on your piece of paper. And let me tell you, we as human beings are really good in listing those problems, right? But what we also can do is we can shift to the right side of the piece of paper and turn those problems into possibilities and opportunities. So for example, if you take that one problem around the schools are closed for our children and turn that into an opportunity, you can do that by starting a question with how might we, turning that problem into a question that starts with how might we. For example, how might we bring our children safely back to school? Or how might we enable students to learn from anywhere? How might we create better digital learning environments together with teachers and parents and even grandparents? Or how might we make education accessible to all people? Now you have 4 questions that allow you to actually come up with creative ideas on how to solve this problem. So that is the beauty of reframing. You take the problems and turn them into questions, starting with how might we? And that allows you that your brain actually starts generating ideas and create a solution how to solve that problem. Another problem I just listed would be climate change is real and impacts our daily lives. Turning that into a possibility might look like that. How might we change our diet to live a more sustainable life? And that already kind of like gives you a couple of ideas and solutions and how you can actually address that problem. So reframing is a beautiful way of turning problems into possibilities with just a piece of paper, turning your problems from the left into opportunities on the right.
Thank you, Frederik. Thank you so much. I don't know for everybody out there, but for me, I'm kind of sitting here smiling and thinking, man, this man is trying to reprogram my brain in 5 minutes. Completely going against the way I've been programmed to think. Because quite often someone comes to you and asks for something, and the first thing you think of is, how can I say no? Whereas you don't really think of, how can I say yes? So thank you very much for that. Thank you for the whole concept going into reframing and asking how might we do something differently. Thank you, Frederik.